President Trump continues to feud with a group of Democratic lawmakers after a series of social media posts stirred up controversy. Meanwhile, pension problems are once again the focus of an upcoming special session here in Kentucky later this week. More on what lawmakers hope to accomplish coming up. And why advocates of covering scars with tattoos are breathing a sigh of relief this morning.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:31 on Wednesday, July the 17th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning into Mountain News this morning. If you're going to go out today and come back this afternoon, you're going to for sure want an umbrella and a rain jacket because at some point we're going to get a little rain on the action. But the temperatures will drop, at least temperature-wise, not humidity-wise. Let's bring in Brandon this morning and get a better breakdown of what to expect. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, and yes, you're right. The temperatures are going to come down. It's just going to still feel very tropical out there, so keep that in mind. Let's go to Pikeville Medical Center one more time this morning, and you can see cloudy conditions over that way, but no rain as of yet. We take a look at live pinpoint Doppler radar, and there's the rain in parts of the area, going through parts of Magoffin County now, over into Breathitt, all the way down toward the Kentucky-Tennessee border there. So some scattered showers around. We take a little closer look there, and you can see a better look at some of those heavier bands of rain, especially near Salyersville, toward Barberville and down toward Williamsburg this morning. Temperatures dropping where it's raining a little bit, but you can see from Williamsburg to Middlesboro, 72 to 76, still 77 in Ashland and in Logan. A couple of spots, a few degrees warmer, almost 10 degrees warmer in Harlan this morning than it was this time yesterday. Weather app forecast, you can download that for free on all the app stores, including on your tablets as well. And you see those chances for showers and storms pick up later today with temperatures only near 80. The rest of the forecast coming up here in just a few minutes. Will?
Alrighty, Brandon, we'll be back with you. Well, the House of Representatives last night voted to condemn what it says is racist comments from President Trump about a group of female members of Congress. CBS's Laura Podesta has more.
The House approved a measure condemning President Trump's tweets about 4 congresswomen of color, collectively known as the Squad. The president's tweets urged the women to go back where they came from, even though all but one was born in the U.S.
These comments from the White House are disgraceful and disgusting.
The 4-page resolution, quote, strongly condemns President Trump's racist comments that have legitimized and increased fear and hatred of new Americans and people of color.
At the highest level of government, there's no room for racism.
The 240-187 vote closely followed party lines, with only 4 Republicans and 1 independent in favor. Afterward, the president took to Twitter to praise GOP members who voted against the measure, writing, "Great to see how unified the Republican Party was on today's vote." The mostly symbolic resolution now moves to the Senate, where no action is expected to be taken.
We all know politics is a contact sport, but it's about time we lowered the temperature.
Earlier Tuesday, Mr. Trump was asked where the Squad members should go if they left the U.S.
It's up to them. Go wherever they want, or they can stay. But they should love our country.
The drama on Capitol Hill continued after last night's vote. Once the resolution passed, Texas Democrat Al Green filed articles of impeachment against the president. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Now, the House's Democratic leaders can table the impeachment articles that were submitted last night, but doing so would expose them up to the criticism from the party's left wing. They could also refer the articles to the House Judiciary Committee to consider or simply allow a vote on the matter to proceed. Well, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is taking a stand against people calling the president racist. The Kentucky Republican shared his message for those angered by President Trump's recent tweets.
I think everybody ought to tone down their rhetoric. We have examples of that across the ideological spectrum in the country, all across it. Everyone ought to tone down their rhetoric, and we ought to move back to talking about the issues. Well, the president's not a racist. The president's not a racist. And I think the tone of all of this is not good for the country.
Meanwhile, McConnell's Democratic counterpart reacted to his comments Tuesday. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer claims McConnell has remained silent on what sparked the comments, the president's tweet about 4 female members of Congress.
I haven't heard Leader McConnell say a thing about what Trump did. He should be doing that before he talks about other people. He has an obligation as Republican leader to address the awful and despicable comments of President Trump, and we've only heard silence from him.
Now, he urged the majority leader to first talk about what the president did before talking about other people's reactions. Now, former Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens has died at the age of 99 after suffering a stroke Monday in Florida. Stevens spent more than 3 decades on the high court, shaping decisions in various areas of Americans' lives and becoming more outspoken in retirement. CBS's Mola Lenghi has more on his evolution on the bench.
John Paul Stevens joined the Supreme Court as a registered Republican with a moderately conservative record. But after 3 decades on the bench, he observed that the moderate Republican tradition had changed, and his own positions had too, on issues from civil rights to the death penalty.
You know, it's a part of our job to write opinions from time to time that are not popular, and you know at the time they're not going to be popular.
His political leanings were first shaped by a privileged upbringing in Chicago. He served in World War II before launching his legal career. In 1975, President Gerald Ford chose Stevens for the Supreme Court.
I'm confident that he will bring both professional and personal qualities of the highest order to the Supreme Court.
The nomination was welcomed on both sides of the political aisle, and Stevens was confirmed in 3 weeks.
In all events, I will do everything in my power to render the best possible judicial service of which I am capable.
Stevens was part of the court's right wing at the time, but as the panel grew more conservative, he shifted to the left. He never called himself a liberal, but became leader of the court's liberal wing. In 2008, Stevens disagreed with the decision to halt the Florida vote recount in the Bush versus Gore presidential race.
I think they were profoundly wrong.
He was deeply opposed to the Citizens United decision, which removed restrictions on corporate spending in politics. He supported affirmative action and voted to uphold the Roe versus Wade decision legalizing abortion. And he believed the death penalty amounted to cruel and unusual punishment. Stevens retired in 2010. His 34 years on the bench made him one of the longest-serving Supreme Court justices in history. And after stepping down, he had more to say. Well into his 90s, Stevens called for gun control, suggesting a repeal of the Second Amendment. And he spoke out against the nomination of conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, still issuing opinions, even from the sidelines. Mola Lenghi, CBS News.
Stevens is expected to be buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Now let's get back here to Kentucky, where legislators will gavel in for a special session Friday at 8 in the morning. Governor Matt Bevin called for the session earlier this week. The session will address the pension contribution rate that earlier this month jumped from 49% to 84%. The rate affects quasi-governmental agencies, including regional universities, health departments, domestic violence shelters, and community health centers. Local legislators have differing views on how to address the issue, but are hoping for a positive result.
I'm confident that there'll be a resolve, and I say that because I know the votes are in the Senate to resolve the issue, and I don't believe that they would call us in on Friday if they didn't have a commitment from the House to have enough votes there to pass it.
The majority intends to pass the bill. I mean, I don't think that's a solution. I think that the bill does a lot more harm than good. And so when you ask me, is there going to be a solution? No.
Democrats released their plan to address the concerns last week, while Governor Bevin released his plan earlier this year. It is unknown how long the session will last. Well, after more than 600 public comments, state officials have pulled the proposed tattoo ban. The proposal would have banned tattooing over freshly scarred skin. Tattoo artist Draven Gayhart says any professional artist knows not to do that because of the effects. But when it is healed and you can tattoo, he says it is an unexplainable feeling.
Any tattoo you do is great when you see the client's reaction when they love it. But when you take something that they're living with and it's either a bad memory or a painful time and you can camouflage that or disguise it, the reaction is priceless.
The proposal also updated the disinfectant and equipment sterilization process, as well as parental consent for a minor wanting a tattoo with a parent present. Your time is now 6:40 in the morning. Let's send it on over to Brandon to give us a breakdown of what to expect on this hump day. Brandon?
Well, the showers are trying to move in now as the remnants of hurricane. Well, it's a tropical storm too, but Hurricane Barry coming through now into the mountains. You see it into central Kentucky, you see it into eastern Kentucky, so we're going to continue to monitor that trend today as it continues its trek eastward. Down to 75, Logan, Pikeville, Prestonsburg, 77 there in Ashland, 70 in Wise and Jonesville, and 70 also Williamsburg. That had a little bit of rain last a little bit. Outdoor forecast, we are going to see temperatures slowly climb to right around 80 degrees, but again, we are going to see those showers and storms, and some of those could feature some heavy rain, especially at times this afternoon. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, we will have a pet in our studio looking for a good home. Thank you for joining us right here on Mountain News this morning.